This video walks you through the process of using a question generator file, an Excel file, to generate the question database, a question.js file, which will be used inside the app. The question generator.xls file is really just a user-friendly way where you can have your questions added to your app. You can add the questions yourself, or you can send this off to somebody else who will be your question source. This is a very convenient feature of this package that we've put together. Originally, you would have to add all the questions yourself using the quiz template, the quiz page that is available. But we have come up with an additional system where we can use questions. We've basically split the process into two: the generation of the questions, the creation of the questions, and the creation of the app. Now you have a handy way where you can actually have your questions created by somebody else. They hand off the Excel file to you, and then you generate the question.js file, which is used within the app. Right now, I'll just jump right into using the question generator file. Go ahead and double click and open up this file. Now, this file uses macros, and I'm using the Windows version of Excel. You must enable content for this to work, so be sure to click on the Enable Content button up at the top. And I'm going to jump over to the Data tab, and as you can see, there are several tabs over here on the bottom, and we'll be doing our work primarily on the Data tab. There is the image name with extension, and you can see that over here. This is for the option where if you want to include an image with the question, you would basically simply type in the file name, no path, just the file name, and of course you have to be sure to add the extension. If it's a JPEG or a GIF or PNG file, you will need to add that here, the image name with the extension. The next column, column B, is the subject. Now this is for instances or situations where you would like the subject to display just before the question. This is an additional feature, a feature request by one of the people who is actually using our software. They requested that we add a subject. So basically you can tell the person that this is the subject that the question is about. The next column is the question. You will notice that there are 6 columns actually, that have a yellow highlight at the top. These questions are required questions. The question, answer 1, answer 2, answer 3, answer 4, and correct answer. But going back to the question, of course, this is a quiz app, so naturally there has to be a question. What is today is a question. What flavor type of ice cream is shown in this picture? And of course it's going to show them a picture, which is why of course you need to add a picture here if you're using a picture type, a question that has a picture. This is a feature which was requested again by one of our users, and we developed the functionality to be able to use this. So these are the questions that are listed here. You can feel free to add new questions on the fly. So if you want to add as many questions as you want within here, you can feel free to do so. And you can just basically go ahead and type in new questions over here. Just go ahead and type in a new question. I'll give you a quick example right here. As we're looking at this, I'll just type in what is the capital of let's just say England. We'll just use that as a question, and I'm going to put in 4 responses. Of course the responses have to be within the same row, so we'll put down a couple different responses here. We'll say Cairo as an example, and we'll put in a couple other examples real quick. We'll say Lagos, and we'll try London, and we'll say Washington DC. Now, so I've just basically introduced you to the 4 columns which have the answers, and finally on the 5th column, way over the column on the extreme right, you will need to add in the correct answer. The correct answer in this case is C, is London, and London is the 3rd column, answer 3. So over here I'm going to put in the number 3, which will tell the system that this is the correct response. So you notice, and basically that's what we've done for each of the other questions here. Within the correct answer column, you need to specify and tell it what the correct answer is. This is very important and used by the quiz data program. If you fail to put in a correct answer, the system will error out and tell you it did not find an answer. Now this is important because this is one of the problems we ran into, where, like, if for instance the person who was generating the questions forgot to put in an answer, then of course the whole system would fail. So just to show you how it works, I'm going to ignore putting an answer in 1 or 2 of these, and we'll see how it works out. Let's just say, for instance, the most popular game in the world, which is this row right here, and I'm going to delete the question from I'm going to delete the answer here. So if I delete the answer from here, so you will notice that this row does not have an answer. And after we've added all our questions, the next thing we need to do is to generate the database. So over here at the bottom there's a tab called generate. So you will need to jump over to this tab, generate, and on this tab there's a button called run macro. Now this macro is basically what generates the questions.js file. You will notice over here on this database, within the file structure, look at the date stamp on this. Now currently it says it was last saved, the question.js file, it was last saved as 4:55 p.m. Well, watch what happens when I come back to the Excel file. Keep your eye on this. It says the 3rd of March, 4:55. If I jump back over to the question.file, the question generator, and I click run macro, we have an error. Row 7 does not have an answer. This is required. Please check now and add an answer. So remember row 7, and like I said, this is very user friendly. It tells you exactly where the error is. So we come over here and we need to fix the error. So we put in the answer as 3, hit the enter key, and then we'll jump back over to generate and click on run macro. And now it comes back and tells us task completed. So basically it ran through and it finished up the task. Let's jump back over to look at the date stamp on question.js. Did you notice the difference that the file stamp has changed? This means that it successfully generated the questions.js file. It updated it for us. I'm going to go ahead and right click and open Edit Plus, which is an editor I used, and you can see right here, this is the question that I just added, and it included that with the correct answer right here. We have provided for you a handy way where you can add your questions into Excel and they will be generated for you using a special macro. We've done all the hard work for you. So keep a backup of this file, the question.generator file, before you generate or run macro, because what it does make some changes to the file. It will add some certain comments just to make sure it cleans it up. For instance, if I had what is today's date instead here for a question, you will notice that there is an apostrophe right here. Well, the system, what it does is it recognizes that the apostrophe is something that may break the code within the question.js file. So if you notice, we've added this apostrophe right here. So when I go back to generate and I hit run macro and it says task completed, if you take a look at this, what it did is it put a backslash in front of the apostrophe just to make sure that it would not break the code. So when you go back within the question.js file, it's placed a backslash right here, and you can see that this is here within the Excel file as well. So In other words, it does make the changes that are necessary to make sure that you have a good question.js file coming out that you can use within the app. Of course, since it's made this change, it's up to you whether or not you want to save this file before you close. You can walk away without saving the changes, or you can keep the changes saved. It may mess up your data, so it's very important that you be aware that it's going to make changes to the Excel file. So you probably want to keep a backup. And of course, we cannot be held liable for any changes that happen to your data and that affect what happens. Of course, you can do a find and replace for all backslashes and remove those. Within the system, we also have checking for special characters that may not display well when they are showed within the file. So for instance, if there are special characters like, let's just say for instance, a character like an A or an accent E, which is French or something used in another language, like your grav or your uppercase, the different accents that may be found based on the different languages, we do have a routine that also replaces those characters with HTML values, user-friendly values, or numeric values that would display well within the file. You can always come to this and add new characters right here, and the system will recognize them. It's built in to look at this table and use and do the conversion, taking that back to your question.js file.